Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. So today we're reacting to a video from Task and Purpose, and I will say these guys definitely know the military. They definitely know the military humor, and they definitely know the content that people in the military or aspiring to join the military would be interested in looking at. So this video today is actually about hand grenades. Now I remember reading a while back they were trying to upgrade the fragmentation grenade, or at least the hand grenade, in the U.S. military, because the ones we've been using now, the M67, has been used I think since like either the 60s or 70s. It's a very old model hand grenade, and I mean with the hand grenade it's pretty basic. It's literally just a handheld bomb, but you can definitely get these more advanced than you would think. So I'm very interested to check this video out because, again, I don't know exactly what they were actually doing to implement these upgrades or what sort of upgrades they're actually trying to implement. So hopefully this video does a good job of explaining everything. Now, again, if you guys haven't checked out my merch, feel free to check it down in the description. I left the link, and you can see right here, this is a sticker that I ordered. Very high quality, and it looks awesome on my Hydro Flask. A lot of people have been asking what it actually is, because most people don't know that I actually do YouTube videos, which is kind of cool to talk about. It's a good conversation starter. But yeah, definitely check that out. If you guys aren't subscribed, definitely feel free to subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when I upload any more videos. But we will get right into this one. Again, very excited to see what they have to say about these new grenades.
For the first time in 40 years, the U.S. Army could be getting a brand new hand grenade. This next generation multi-purpose grenade would replace the current M67 fragmentation grenade. It would have some really interesting and much needed upgraded capabilities. It promises to bring the ancient art of hurling a jar of explosives at your enemy into the modern, technologically fancy day and age.
Okay, real quick, this whole Flashbang video that you just saw in the background, I know those guys personally. If you saw one of my recent reactions, I was reacting to those guys doing their room clearing, but I know those guys personally, and yeah, we gave them a lot of crap for missing the flashbang and then tripping into the room. That was pretty funny. But yeah, you can see in that video the grenade was going off like almost immediately when it hit, and it was a pretty big explosive, or a pretty big explosion. Now with the normal M67 or the hand grenade, people think the explosions are huge. There's like a huge fireball, but in reality it's really nothing crazy. It's just some smoke. It's not even that big of an explosion. So maybe it was just the mud that made it look like a bigger explosion. But that was pretty cool to see. I'm not sure I doubt that was that advanced grenade that they're actually trying to implement, but that was a nice little clip for us to see. Definitely gets me excited because, again, I love hand grenades. I love throwing small explosives. It's a lot of fun, and it's so primitive. It's just literally a handheld bomb that you throw at people. It's crazy.
Before we start, let's watch the results of my field test to see if, after being out of the Army for 10 years, I'm still able to throw a grenade 40 meters.
That it?
Nailed it. Finally made my high school baseball coach proud. It's not my fault we lost the championship. Stop texting me about that, Mr. Potts. It was 15 years ago.
Yeah, Mr. Potts, jerk.
The question on all of our minds with
this is interesting
is, what can it possibly offer that's new, and are the features too complicated for someone as dense as me to operate? We're getting a manual adjusted fuse timer that the operator can set on their own. You'll be able to custom set the timer down to the millisecond. So if you want to give you a few extra seconds to pick it up and throw it back at you, that's now at your discretion.
I don't know how I feel about that, because like he was saying, there's definitely people that have messed up the hand grenade. It's literally you pull the pin and you throw it, and people mess that up. You'd be surprised how many times people mess that up, or they mess up the throw. Like sometimes they'll drop it behind them, or they'll throw it straight at the ground. You'll see that a lot. So they'll literally throw it and it'll go like 5 meters straight into the ground. It's pretty mind-blowing to see when that happens. But being able to adjust the time is kind of interesting. It seems like a lot to worry about. If you've played Call of Duty, you can cook the hand grenade. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're like doing room clearing or clearing out a compound. You can pop the spoon off, wait like a couple seconds just so it gives the enemy less time to throw it back. But yeah, I don't know. It might be too much to handle for an infantryman, especially like a PFC or a lance corporal, to be worrying about changing the time on the fuse. But very interesting. It is a cool thing to implement, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best idea.
I always thought it was hilarious that the current standard issue grenade that we use has an official fuse of 4.25 seconds.
Yeah.
2.5 seconds. Our explosives should be more precise than the instructions in the back of a microwavable pizza bagel box. The biggest upgrade here is that
Bagel Bites box, and I recognize that.
Between the grenade concussion or fragmentation explosive types with the flick of a switch. Concussion grenades only have a blast radius of 2 meters because they don't send out any shrapnel, as opposed to fragmentation grenades, which have a 15-meter blast radius, sending pieces of metal flying out everywhere at high velocities. After not going outside for 3 months, if either one went off in my apartment, it would be a big improvement. Having the
This guy does a lot of self-deprecation, and again, I think that's kind of like military humor, but I can appreciate it. Now, I don't know how exactly that would work. So with a concussion grenade, or like almost like a flashbang, it seems like it's got a smaller range. Sure, I mean, that makes some sense. But with fragmentation grenades, it's meant to the shell is meant to explode into small fragments. That's why it's a fragmentation grenade. So I don't know how a concussion grenade will necessarily be able to send a concussion wave and not send fragments. So I don't know how they would implement that. If the shell is meant to break in different ways based off of the force from the fuse, it's pretty interesting, but it is cool to have that multi-purpose for sure.
The option to switch grenade types on the fly gives soldiers a much wider range of tactical choices in the field. The concussion grenade, for instance, is in the offensive category because they can safely be thrown while advancing on the target thanks to its smaller blast radius. That's something you simply couldn't do with the frag option. Having the two types of explosive choices also makes the grenades...
Yes, you can see... I'll back it up right there. You can see right there, it's got like a certain shape because, again, it's made to fragment. So I've never actually seen it. That's actually pretty cool. Again, you do get told like there is a certain shape to it, but actually being able to see it is a whole nother thing. But yeah, it is made to fragment, so I'm not sure how the concussion would actually come into play.
It makes the grenade safer because if you're in a situation where you're worried about the blast radius hitting yourself or friendly elements, you can make the explosive less lethal. The U.S. Army hasn't had a concussion grenade at all for 40 years now. They retired their last concussion grenade, the Mark III A2, because it was made out of 50% asbestos. I'm not kidding. Yes, apparently that's where all your asbestos went when they removed it from your attic. Whenever we drew those grenades on training grounds, we were accidentally poisoning ourselves, so the Army stopped using them, and to avoid all the lawsuits by whatever law firm is trying to sue with the class action.
There's a lot of those in the military.
And you've used the internet at all, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Army is opting for a very different type of grenade design here. The prototype renderings show that it no longer has that spoon clip that has been a staple of the typical hand grenade style for as far back as the M1 of World War I. Improvements since then have included moving to a circular design, which is easier to throw than a pineapple-shaped grenade. We've also been working on decreasing the chances of it making up its own mind on when it wants to detonate. This is thanks to using a more stable explosive called Comp B inside the M67. The next generation hand grenade doesn't have a catchy name for it yet, so for right now it's called the Enhanced Tactical Multi-Purpose Hand Grenade. Put that on a bumper sticker. The top Army science people, yes, that's their official title, working at Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey, they only had $1.1 million of funding for the project in 2017.
That's not a lot for the military.
$1.1 million, as if I don't have all the money I own stuffed in a sock under my futon. This doesn't surprise me though. The new hand grenades aren't really the top priority for our military right now, given the types of conflicts we're engaged in. Most troops who have a hand grenade issued to them right now have a very restricted rules of engagement with them. The days of kicking in a door and tossing a frag per room have been over for a long time.
Yeah, so what he's saying right there is very valid. A lot of times the ROEs, or the rules of engagement, do affect how you would implement certain weapon systems for sure. I haven't heard of anyone saying specifically about their ROEs affecting their hand grenade emplacement, but it is interesting to have the options, especially if you want to change it from concussion to frag or what have you. It just might be a bad time if you're trying to do concussion and you forgot to adjust it or you didn't do it properly and you throw a frag grenade in. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're concussing someone, they might be a bad guy, but you know, I would hope they're definitely a bad guy for using the frag option. But the spoon, getting rid of the spoon is kind of weird, because that was definitely an extra layer of security and just sort of comfort, knowing that, okay, this thing shouldn't go off if I'm still holding the spoon. It was something to consider, especially if you're throwing it. Sometimes the spoon didn't operate the way it should have, but most of the time it was okay. So getting rid of the spoon is pretty interesting, especially, you know if the spoon is off, it's armed. With this one, I'm not sure if there's like an indicator or if there's a light that indicates that, hey, you should probably throw this thing. But, I'm colorblind, so when we're talking about lights, I don't like trying to decide between red and green. So I hope that's not the case.
Obviously, that varies based on the mission. I carried a frag grenade on my vest in Iraq, and I never used it, except for that one time when I needed the end of the pin to reach that tiny impossible-to-reach reset button on the back of the Tamagotchi. The Army Times got this quote from Lieutenant Colonel Bohannon about the new hand grenade development. Quote, "Over Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom, we collected soldier feedback, and that feedback told us that the M67 hand grenade had limitations, which we've known of, in restricted terrain. The only problem I could potentially see happening with the new enhanced hand grenade is that it's maybe too complicated. Having the extra options like setting a fuse timer or choosing which type of explosive you want, each variable there sounds like it could add a very small room for human error, and it's like my old squad leader used to say to me, Cappy, your nickname should be Human Error." Not sure what he meant by that.
Yeah, squad leaders say the darndest things. I can say that coming from a squad leader standpoint. But yeah, what he said is very valid. It does add a little bit of complexity. And when you're talking about infantrymen, you don't really need the complexity with the weapon systems. You need it to be as basic as possible. I don't know. I haven't heard anyone complaining about the M67. Again, everything can be finicky from time to time, but normally when you're using a hand grenade, it works pretty well, at least from what I've seen. So yeah, again, there are those stipulations. There are things to consider when you're adding certain features on a hand grenade. When you're messing with any sort of explosive and making it more complicated to use, could be a bad thing, could be a good thing. Yeah, it all depends on the person using it, really. But let me know what you guys think about this video and this new hand grenade. The title is Future of Hand Grenades. Can't wait to yell yeet out. I'm sure with today's military and everyone saying all this weird lingo, that's definitely been said already.
You're good!
So it'll be funny to see that being implemented with this new hand grenade too. But definitely let me know what you guys think about the video. Task and Purpose does a lot of good stuff, and again, their military humor is spot on. So I appreciate that as well. But yeah, if you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up, definitely subscribe, and hit that bell so you're notified whenever I upload any more videos. And you can join our awesome community of people who like to watch me reacting to random military units, or me doing reviews, and yeah, gaming videos too. I'm still trying those out. I'm not the best gamer, but it's been pretty fun trying that out. It sort of breaks up the monotony of my videos, But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you want me to react to any more videos from Task and Purpose, I'd definitely love to do that, because they definitely have a lot of good stuff. But that is it for this video, so I will see y'all in the next one.